Thanks, Gray. Appreciate the opportunity to share some information with you, some new county records, that type of thing, about some of the pests of concern. Okay, this pest isn't normally talked about during this particular conference, but it is a major pest of concern for our section. The nursery industry is impacted if they're in the imported fire ant quarantine area, and they have to treat their products with certain types of chemicals before they can move outside the quarantined area. So it is a major pest issue with the nursery industry in Tennessee. The imported fire ant was, if you're not familiar with it, was accidentally introduced into the Mobile, Alabama area, probably on at least two separate occasions in the early 1900s. It gradually spread from that point into the surrounding area, and then especially after World War II, there were a lot of artificial infestations throughout the country, and it became a federal quarantine pest in 1958 to try to prevent the artificial movement of fire ants in nursery stock and hay and other commodities. In Tennessee, the first artificial find was way back in the late 1940s in Shelby County in Memphis, and the first natural migration took place, we believe, in Hardin County in 1987, and it spread quickly into nearby areas. And the cold weather slowed down the pest somewhat, but we still have it in a little bit over half the state, and we feel that it'll eventually get to Kentucky and several areas, but it may not get to the higher elevations in the Smoky Mountains in upper East Tennessee, that it is affected by cold weather. But we did have some new counties. In West Tennessee, we finished up Haywood and Crockett County, added some to Lauderdale. We added quite a bit of territory in Dixon County, finished up Williamson County, and a little bit in Wilson, added a little bit in Wilson County. We finished up Anderson, Knox, and Sevier counties, so that's quite a bit for 1 year. Every year our full-time plant inspectors, and especially our seasonal forestry aides, they will survey along the front, usually about 18 miles or so above the front across the state. We try to get at least half the state each year. Sometimes we can get a lot more than half, but we do a series of driving and walking surveys to determine if there's a need to move the quarantine line up farther north. It's a little bit hard to see. This is a gypsy moth map. We've had a number of infestations dating back to 1983 that required either ground spray or aerial spray to take care of the infestation. There's a trapping program that covers every county throughout the state. The Division of Forestry is the lead agency in trapping. They're assisted by USDA APHIS PPQ and the trapping in terms of finance, and APHIS PPQ traps Rutherford County and Shelby County, and Division of Forestry does the other 93 counties. A few sites are also trapped by federal agencies on federal lands. But we've, in contrast to the period between 1983 and 2011, when we had quite a few large infestations that required treatment, it's been quiet since 2011. In 2011, we had to spray 3 areas totaling about 1,600 acres, but we've had real low moth catch numbers since 2011, and this year was the same. Only caught 14 moths statewide. Cumberland County had the most with a total of 4, 3 in one trap, 1 in another. We had 1 in Montgomery County, 2 single catches in Davidson, a double catch in Sumner County, 1 in Blunt, a total of 3 in Sevier and 1 in Sullivan. Most of these were due to campground type catches that are common throughout the year. At least one was in a residential area, and one was at Fort Campbell near the Kentucky line. But we're really pleased with these results. Historically, it's a very low number, and there's no counties currently that's considered infested. So we're extremely pleased about that circumstance. The hemlock woolly adelgid, was first found in 2002, and it's been spreading fairly quickly. We've got 2 new counties to report in 2013. The Division of Forestry is the lead agency in surveying for hemlock woolly adelgid in new counties. Earlier, back in the winter, January, I believe, or it may have been February or March, Bledsoe County, and then fairly recently in November, southern part of Grundy County. So it's one of those pests, if you look hard enough, you'll probably find it, but much of our hemlock area of Tennessee has already been impacted. There's a few more counties to go, but not too many. It's a little bit light green. We have a lot of maps on this far right corner. There may be a few on the other table, but there's a large pile of maps you can pick up on this particular slide. It's got the 21 counties there, a little bit darker shade of green than we had 3 new counties. Hamilton County, Gene Hyde talked about Chattanooga yesterday. In Jackson County, it just bled over from Smith County, just about a mile and a half. We had several traps just across the line in Jackson County, as well as Putnam County from the Smith County infestation that started in a campground. We did pick up a beetle in Jackson County, so that county is quarantined. Scott County, the USDA contractor picked up 2 positive traps in the eastern part of Scott County, so that county is also quarantined. The USDA contractor, they placed about a little over 1,200 traps statewide, at least 2 in every county. One county as many as 42, based on the complex model situation that Paul Shalou talked about yesterday. Our section was given 160 traps by PPQ to place throughout the state. Some were what I call proximity traps that were just across the line from an infested county, and some were in high-risk sites, like a campground, to detect for possible artificial introduction. I believe this map was shown yesterday. The new counties are in red nationwide. You can see the 3 counties, Hamilton and Jackson and Scott, here along with our other 18 infested counties in yellow. Okay, we've added quite a bit to this map. Recently we had, we've got several new buffer counties. We had 2 new quarantine counties, Morgan and Ray, and because the adjacent counties are triggered into a buffer regulation by being adjacent to a quarantine county, we automatically added Fentress and Cumberland because of Morgan County, and because of Ray County being quarantined. The county's quarantined when we find the disease. We automatically triggered Cumberland, Bledsoe, Meigs, and Hamilton. We found the beetle in Monroe, so that triggered the buffer. We found the beetle in Polk, and we found the beetle in McMinn. Bradley, we not found the beetle, but it was surrounded on the Tennessee side by other buffer counties, so we decided to buffer it as well. Hamilton County, we did not find the beetle, but it was buffered because of Ray being quarantined. Sequatchie, we did find the beetle in a trap in the small city of Dunlap, and so that accounts for the changes, which are significant. As far as the new beetle, new counties for that we actually found the beetle, we found the beetle for the first time in, let's see, Morgan County. We found the beetle and the disease for the first time in Morgan County. We found the beetle for the first time in 2 traps in Claiborne County, for the first time in Hamilton County in 2 traps. Also Monroe County, we found the beetle for the first time with 2 traps. This is Monroe County here. There's Claiborne County up there. We also found the beetle for the first time in Roane County, which is a little closer to the older infested area. There's Roane County there. And as I mentioned, McMinn County and Polk County and Sequatchie County. So the trapping program is pretty successful in terms of finding the beetle in new counties. The traps obviously work quite well. And this will be the last slide I show. Jim Kuhner will follow up after this slide. We also have copies of the previous slide and of this slide on that table over there. There's plenty of copies available. This just shows the red diamonds are places where we place mostly the lingering funnel traps. There was 1 bolt trap in northeastern Bledsoe County, but these are sites where we place the walnut twig beetle trap, and there was a heavy concentration in East Tennessee because we know that's where the known infested area was, but we wanted to place some traps in Middle and West Tennessee, particularly near the populated areas, to potentially pick up new areas of possible introduction. But we also wanted to just see how the movement, whether it was natural migration or short distance artificial movement, we did focus a lot, obviously, on East Tennessee. So with that, I'll pass it on to Jim.
Thank you. I'll go from where Steve's been on the TCD part, and I'd like to share with you just a few slides on kind of a new survey tool that we put in place this last year. The target with this tool is going to be the geosmithia. And what we're doing is calling these the Sentinel limbs. And what we do, first of all, of course, you got to find the walnut tree to take the limbs off of, and most of the walnut trees seem like the limbs start pretty high. So we have to climb up on the top of the trucks and have long pole saws to try to get the suitable limbs down with. And then we measure the limbs, and if you notice these limbs, and early on we were making some mistakes. We were getting some larger limbs with coarser bark. The finer bark, these limbs are better, more suitable for the geosmithia work. So we saw those off. We're using about 16 to 18 inch bolts to make these limbs and the smooth branches. Here's one we done early on, one of our first ones, I guess, and we realized that it works fine, but it's much harder for the researchers to work through a bolt that's got that coarse of a bark on it. And we haven't been arrested yet, but we always keep looking over our shoulder as we're doing this, because we're set up out here along the side of the road with this stove, and we're cooking with this heat, and what we're doing is melting some wax in our fondue pot. And once we get that wax melted and ready, then we take the bolts, the Sentinel limbs, and we seal off those ends that where we've cut them to keep them drying out. And we do this. We were down in Ray County, I guess, on the one on the left. We were up in Cock County along the side of the road where there's some construction going along. We got a lot of odd looks at us as we were doing this, but it works out in the field for us. and then we attach the limbs. We can either use the pole that we already got our trap on. We just put a connector there on the pole and set the limb on there. Or we can use these others. We use about a 4-foot pole, use the same way to anchor it down with rebar and attach the limb across that. And then, of course, we put actually it's the same lure that we're using in the funnel traps that we put on the bolt. And we leave that out for a few days. It's completed like that, either on its own individual pole or on the pole that we had the trap on to begin with, the funnel trap. And we put out 3 Sentinel traps per tree and kind of space those around the tree, a little distance from it. Leave them out for about 1 to 2 weeks. Go back and harvest that bolt, and when it's checked in for geosmithia. What about where and when in 2014? Well, that's basically what Steve covered with you. All those counties where we've got positive for the beetle, that's where we're going to go back then and put the Sentinel limbs out in 2014. The 2 new counties that we added this year, Ray County and Morgan County, were a result of these Sentinel traps that we had out.